gasho. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots. Hello and welcome once again to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube channel. This is the YouTube service for the month of November 2022 and will be airing on November 27th of 2022. I'm so glad that you're here to share the Buddha Dharma with us once again here at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube channel. Service order for this service will be Sanbujo. You can find Sanbujo on page 35 in the Blue Denver Service Book. Following the chanting of Sanbujo, we will then chant Juseige. You can find Juseige on page 57 in the Blue Denver Service Book. Following Juseige, we're going to have a reading of the Three Treasures. You can find the Three Treasures on page 106 in the Blue Denver Service Book. And finally, we're going to have a Dharma talk. And this time, we're going to be talking about the concepts of karma and things that bring us to this Nembutsu teaching, Namo Amida Butsu. I hope that you're having a wonderful November, that your Thanksgiving was good, and that your causes and conditions have been fun. If you need anything ever, please feel free to contact us here at the Tri-State Denver Temple. You can hit us up on our Facebook page or on Instagram, and also here on YouTube as well. If you're in the Denver metro area and you've never come out, please think of coming out for our New Year's service, which will be on December 31st, where we're going to ring the giant bancho in front of the temple. Please have a wonderful day and be happy, healthy, and do all you can to help those who are weaker than yourself. But most of all, keep your hands in gasho and say Namo Amida Butsu.
文上ジポンヨラガゴン朝鮮安必死無常の心安不満足政府上昇学がほ無用不意内摂取不採証明具政府上昇学が市場分動妙所長寺法空教未証門政府上昇学利欲人少年上平主凡行真具無浄土一生天人師人力現代公不生無才道少女三苦名交際集約難回避知恵言滅死根門案閉塞小悪道津難全注文高僧上満足異様の寺法日願修十期天候本普賢一種解放像公正苦六法情報大集中説法四子空供養一切無具足修徳本元年心上門得意三概用 Nyo Mun Mung Ji Tzu Nan Mi Fu Shou Gagaku Erik Toshi Sai Shou Son Shingan Yako Ka Daisen no Kando Koku Shoten Nin To Jin Myo Ke Namo 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 Gane shiku doku myo no sei sai do hon mo nai shin
Gasho. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots. Please join me in Gasho for a reading of The Three Treasures. Hard is it to be born into human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and become aware of his supreme teaching. I take refuge in the Dhamma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of his doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in the life of harmony and the spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Hello and welcome once again to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube channel. and for our Dharma talk for our November 2022 YouTube service. I'm so glad you're here and joining us and sharing the Buddha Dharma and these wonderful teachings with me and with everyone who's watching right now, even if it's just one of you. I'm really glad to be in fellowship right now with you and sharing this beautiful and wonderful teaching. Oh, I am deeply honored and grateful that I get to share this with you today. I'd like to start off, as we have been recently, reading 3 lines, and this is called How to Listen to the Dharma. Listen as if I am listening for the first time. Listen as if this message is for me alone. Listen as if this is the last chance I have to hear the Dharma. So today, I kind of want to take a slippery subject. I want to step into the hard realm of talking about something. So I want to preface this with, I do not have the only opinion on what I'm about to talk about. And it's okay to have a differing opinion from me. I am not an all-knowing person. I am just someone that has had the opportunity and luck in my life to study the teachings and try to share them in the best that I can. However, maybe what I say today won't be perfect. And that's okay, because we're going to all try, and we're all foolish people full of greed, anger, and ignorance. What I do want to start off with, though, is sharing a letter from the Mato Sho. These are called the Lamp for the Latter Ages. These are letters that Shinran wrote when he was quite aged, in his 80s, to his followers back in Kanto when he was in Kyoto. And this is letter 10 in this collection. And this is a response to someone writing to him. I have read your letter very carefully. In your question about the teaching, you state that at a point of awakening of the one moment of Shinjin, we are grasped and protected by the heart of unhindered light, and hence the karmic cause for our birth in the Pure Land is established in ordinary times. This is truly splendid. Yet though what you stated is splendid, I'm afraid it has become nothing but your own calculation. Once you have come simply to believe that it surpasses conceptual understanding, there should be no struggle to reason it out. You also write that there are people who say, my aspiration to transcend this world is great, but slight is the karmic cause for my birth in the Pure Land. This is impossible to accept. The aspiration to transcend this world and karmic cause for birth in the Pure Land are one and the same. I consider these words to be, in their entirety, needless calculation. If you realize that the wisdom of the Buddha surpasses conceptual understanding, there should not, in any addition, be any calculating. You should simply not fall into doubts over differing things that people say. Simply give yourself up to the Tathagata's vow, avoiding calculating in any way. Respectfully, the 5th month, the 5th day. There's a subnote here, to Joshinbo. Other power means to be free of any form of calculation. This is not an easy text, and it was written for one person at one time. But we have these collections of letters, and it's a look into how Shinran ministered and how he shared the Buddha Dharma in his time. So I think they're very important to look at. And first off, I want to say, this was written in the 1200s in Japan. The causes and conditions were so utterly different almost 800 years ago. So I can't sit and say, like, oh, this is the one way that we must think, but I do think that this is interesting. And there's one thing I want to pull out of this specifically. And that is this person who was writing to Shinran had this quote. You also write, or rather Shinran responds to this quote, you also write that there are people who say, and this is the quote, my aspiration to transcend this world is great, but slight is the karmic cause for my birth in the Pure Land. And this, while the entire letter is amazing, this is going to be the focus of my talk. So, karmic cause. We hear the word karma in everyday speech all the time. Oh, yeah, I ran a red light and then I got cut off. Oh, that's bad. That's just karma. That's just karma. And so we sometimes define karma within common language or within our lived experience as cause and effect. Like this thing happened, and so something else has happened. And cause and effect is a real thing. I mean, it's a physical property. If you can look at any base Newtonian physics stuff. A force applied to a force will have an equal and opposite applied force without movement involved, and that actually then sums out the forces. So like sum of forces generally within an equation equals 0. And yeah, I know I'm going into the science side, but that's okay. It's a force matter or force energy balance. And that is the basis of like most engineering, honestly, is like looking at these force balance equations and like how everything works together. And that's great. But I don't think that's the karma that the person who is writing to Shinran and Shinran were talking about. So I think of it, and I'm going to define it for this talk, it is all the causes and conditions that come to us and allow us to live this life and allow us to be exposed to the Buddha Dharma. We listened to the 3 treasures earlier. Hard is it to be born into human form. And like hard means like, oh, this is a rough life. Like life is suffering. But hard also means is how rare is it to be born into human form? And now where you're living it. Difficult to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, the teachings of Amida Buddha, the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, the teachings of all the Buddhas. How rare and wonderful is it to hear these teachings of the Buddha? And so when Shinran's friend writes to him, my desire to transcend this world is great, but slight are the karmic causes for my birth in the Pure Land. Shinran says nothing can be farther from the truth. You have heard the Buddha Dharma. You have lived in a time and in a place with causes and conditions that have allowed you to hear this teaching. Your karma is perfect to become one with this teaching. And I think this concept that the man was talking about, this karma concept, maybe in some ways comes from, as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, we don't really have a list of don't do this or do this. And yet, for those of us in the Anglophone world, so I'm going to make a gross assumption here that a majority of people watching this YouTube video probably live within Anglophone, so English-speaking world. So the United States, Canada, England, Ireland, across Europe, or they're English-speaking in other countries. And a majority of the English-speaking world's culture is informed by Protestant and Catholic worldviews, which is great, and I'm really glad that they have those things. But it does lead to a conundrum, because for a lot of people, ethics are based upon these religious worldviews. So you go to a lot of the state capitals here in the United States, and you find tablets or carvings either in front of the state capitol or somewhere near the state capitol of the 10 Commandments, which is a Judeo-Christian, so I think both the Jewish have it, our great Hebrew friends, and Christians have it, and I'm not sure what Islam's relationship with it is, but I'm sure that it something to that extent involves within their Abrahamic understanding as well. And these are base level dictates for act this way, don't act this way, don't kill. That's a great rule. Don't kill. Don't steal. And these are all great things, right? But if we look in Shinran's writings, we don't really find a list. There are some lists like don't cause a Buddha to bleed. That's good advice. Don't cause disharmony in the Sangha. That's also good advice. And there's the three grave offenses. And these are important things, and they're in Shinran's writings, and they're in the sutras. But we don't have this definitive list of like, act this way, act that way. And I think there's a reason for that. And I think it is karma. It is karma. We are not saying be a good person and follow all these rules, and thusly you will be born into the Pure Land of Amida Buddha. Instead, we say, entrust yourself entirely to the vow of Amida Buddha. Entrust your birth after this life, entrust your life now into Namo Amida Butsu and show your great and utter gratitude through saying Namo Amida Butsu. And outside of that, everything else is our calculation. Everything else is our desire to have XYZ outcome. And I think this is where things go off the rails for Shinshu ethics and Shinshu desires to work within this Western society. So I want to talk a bit about what I perceive my karma to be in encountering the Buddha Dharma. I was not born Jodo Shinshu. In fact, I didn't find Jodo Shinshu until I was in my 20s. I found Buddhism in my 20s too, but then I found Jodo Shinshu in my late 20s. And now I am so lucky to be a Kyoshi priest of the Honganji, which is amazing. But I want to show you something that symbolizes part of my karma that brought me to Jodo Shinshu. So I'm going to come up to the camera real quick, and hopefully the mics still work. And so this, let's see if we can focus in. This is my bracelet, and I have it on all the time. And it's a rainbow. It's a pride flag. It's a pride rainbow. This represents part of my causes and conditions that brought me to Jodo Shinshu. I came from a faith structure that stated that I was fundamentally wrong. And that's fine. They can state that. That is their understanding, and I'm not going to take that from them. I don't agree with it, and I find it to be very distasteful. But I am also not going to disparage other people's faith. Okay, but this gayness of mine, my status as a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, is what informed my ability to hear the Buddha Dharma. This is the wonderful karma that I had that brought me to Namo Amida Butsu. Maybe had I not been born gay, had I not been born a lesbian, I wouldn't have ever encountered Namo Amida Butsu. So, as Shin Buddhists, can we say, oh, being gay is the only way to be, because that's how you encounter the Nembutsu? No, we can't. We can't. And when we say one thing definitively or the other, and we base all of our values on, oh, this is the only way to live, to be one with the teachings, that makes our inside spiritual, religious life external. And there's no way that we can live without our Namo Amida Butsu. It's truly compassion being external, but we also can't force anyone else to take deep refuge. That is our calculation. So do people have to be a member of the community to say Namo Amida Butsu? They don't. But they can be, and that's okay. And there's been a lot of controversial subjects coming up lately. So things like abortion. And our bishop, who I deeply respect, he's an amazing man, Reverend Marvin Harada, wrote an amazing article about his experience with termination of pregnancy and how it affected his family. And I encourage you to check the Wheel of Dharma, and I will link the article down below. And he did such an eloquent job talking on this subject that I don't feel like it's really my place to dictate it. I bring part of this up because this week has been odd for me. There was a hate crime and mass shooting that was performed here in Colorado, where I live, in Colorado Springs. And a lot of people of a community that I belong to were killed and injured. And it was based, I'm not really sure what it was based on. It doesn't really matter. But this is where I think we have to be aware of how our causes and conditions affect other people. Because I think this man, maybe, and I don't know the answer, was told fundamentally that someone like me is wrong. Okay. But he wanted to hurt me. Oh, that's not good. And, these are the things that we have to face as Shinshu Buddhists, because we don't have something that says, yes gay or no gay, or yes abortion or no abortion, or interracial marriage is okay or it's not. Although we have, now that last one sounds really crazy, but there are Shinshu brochures from the 50s and 60s dealing with this, because it was a thing at the time, and maybe it's a thing for someone else now. But I have one conclusion in all these things, and that is, does my action keep someone from hearing this beautiful and wonderful Dharma? Is what I'm doing causing derision within my Sangha? Is the causes and conditions which I'm creating around me preventing other people from living happy and healthy lives? And what can I do to make people feel the unbelievable amounts of joy that I feel in saying Namo Amida Butsu? And in the end, all these things are my calculation, and they're all very foolish, and they are all the definition of small c compassion. But they're also all I can do. Karma is not a defined good or bad. Karma is the situations that we are presented with and how we react to them. Some people are born Jodo Shinshu. Some people come into Jodo Shinshu. However, all people are the people that are embraced by Jodo Shinshu. Namo Amida Butsu. That is what Jodo Shinshu is. That is what the Buddha Dharma wants from us. No one is removed from this teaching. No one is outside of this teaching. Everyone is ondobo. Everyone is our fellow traveler. So as we go through the world and we see people that are mad and full of hate, we can think, oh, maybe this will change eventually for them, and it'll show them the Buddha Dharma. And just because someone also is embracing this teaching doesn't mean we have to like them that much. But it does mean that they are our fellow travelers. Namo Amida Butsu. So I hope this talk, helps a little bit. And it's helping me. But think about your karma, your causes and conditions that brought you to hearing this video today. Think about your causes and conditions for the first time you heard the teachings, Namo Amida Butsu. As we heard in the beginning, how to listen to the Dharma. Listen as if I am listening for the first time. What brought you to here today? What brought you to here for the first time? What made you hear the Nembutsu for the 1,000th time? What made you say it for the first time, and what will be there when you say it for your last time? What joy does it bring to you? Namo Amida Butsu. And what fellowship does it bring? These are all things that are gifts from Amida Buddha, to know that we are truly and utterly embraced, no matter who we are. Honen Shonen has a great letter. Honen, of course, being the teacher of Shinran, our founder. And he says, if you cannot say Nembutsu as a single person, then say Nembutsu as a married person. If you cannot say Nembutsu while feeding yourself, then say Nembutsu as someone else feeds you. And it goes on and on and on like this. And that is the universality of the Nembutsu. It doesn't matter what your causes and conditions are. It doesn't matter what your karma is. It'll meet you where it is. But it is wondrous that this karma has brought us to this moment, today, yesterday, and tomorrow, to hear Namo Amida Butsu, to hear the Buddha Dharma. So I close with you today, once again, hearing the words that Shinran wrote to his follower. And I am holding Namo Amida Butsu deeply inside. I have read your letter very carefully. In your question about the teachings, you state that at a point of awakening of one moment of Shinjin, we are grasped and protected by the heart of unhindered light, and hence the karmic cause for birth in the Pure Land is established in ordinary times. This is truly splendid. Yet, though what you stated is splendid, I am afraid that it has become nothing but your own calculation. Once you have come to simply believe that it surpasses conceptual understanding, there should be no struggle to reason it out. You also write that there are people who say, my aspiration to transcend this world is great, but slight is the karmic cause for my birth in the Pure Land. This is impossible to accept. The aspiration to transcend this world and the karmic cause for birth in the Pure Land are one and the same. I consider these words to be, in their entirety, needless calculation. If you realize that the wisdom of the Buddhas surpasses conceptual understanding, there should be not in any addition by any calculating. You should simply not fall into doubts over the different things that people are saying. Simply give yourself up to the Tathagata's vow and avoid calculating in any way. If you hear Namo Amida Butsu, your karma is perfect for Namo Amida Butsu. If you have encountered these teachings, then your karmic conditions are wonderful, and this teaching is here for you. If you have the desire to engage with this teaching, then your karma is perfect for that. And if you have to leave and come back, that is okay, because your karma is perfect to make it come back. At all times, all people's karma are good to be part of Namo Amida Butsu. But how lucky are we that it leads us to this amazing and beautiful teaching. This all-embracing, egalitarian, lovely, non-discriminatory teaching. Only discrimination comes through our calculating mind. Only discrimination comes from us. It never comes from Amida Buddha. So let's put our hands together in Gasho and be so deeply appreciative for this non-discriminative, all-embracing, egalitarian, wonderful, and perfect teaching for me and hopefully for you. Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.